Welcome to LifeBlood. This is George G, and the time is right. Welcome to today's guest, strong and powerful Nina Cruz. Nina, are you ready to do this?
I'm ready, George. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. Let's go. Nina is a certified conscious parent coach and meditation teacher. She's on a mission to help parents become more successful parents and happier. Excited to have you on, Nina. Tell us a little about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Yeah, well, I'm a mom of two, a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. And, I'm a parent coach, and the beauty about being a parent coach is you actually don't have to have kids to be coached. You just have to have had a parent. And that's pretty much everyone. Um, so, I do what I do because it is so inspiring, and not only from my own journey and the experiences I've had as a mom and the challenges, pain is the portal, and a lot of the challenges I've had have meant I've been able to support other parents moving through their own challenges. And I do it because I absolutely not only see the results in the parent's life, I see the impact that it has on the child. I see the impact it has on the world, really. When one parent's world is shifted, the way they look at the lens through, they see their child, the way they look at themselves and their own identity and their own belief systems. When that's shifted and rocked and changed and, to the truth of who they really are, then the ripple effect is significant, and it changes generational patterns, and it shifts generational timelines. So it's really powerful work to actually shift the whole planet.
Nice. There is a lot there for sure to unpack. Pain is the portal. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, often when we grow up, majority of people grow up really unable to express their feelings and move through their feelings. And this is because the generational patterning is to just get on with it. You just got to do, you got to be tough. And especially with boys, the message is often, toughen up. You get on with it. Don't feel, and feeling is actually, part of this journey. We're actually, here to feel and experience this world of duality which we live in. And being able to move through your own feelings and express them in healthy ways actually allows you to tap into your heart and actually be into that infinite space in your heart, and be able to parent from your heart, not from your head and from control and fear, which is the dominant parenting paradigm. So it is just so powerful when a parent begins to feel and realize that it's actually not as scary as we think, because we've been conditioned to just do. We're like doers. And when we can start to be before we do, and actually feel what's going on inside of us, we actually heal a lot of our own childhood legacies and our own wounding as a child, which is part of the plan. We're all wounded in some way, shape or form, no blame. But so the pain that we can feel when we are able to move through it, it's actually the portal for growth. It's the portal for wisdom. It's the portal for being able to actually show up in the moment with ourselves and with our child without all the conditions that we've been kind of like, we've been marinating in since we were a child. So the pain is the way in. It's like, an alchemist. You start with base metal. You have to alchemize and move through the lead, which is in our terms, in our stuff, in our conditioning, in our BS belief systems. You have to move through that in order to transform it and turn it into gold and turn it into magic. And we can only go through it. We have to go through to transform. We can't just take a pill, or we can't just go, you know what, I'm going to park it there and let's just think happy thoughts and let's do mantras on I am happy, because that's just creating more unhappiness. So the pain, the moving through your own stuff is generally the starting point to become aware of, actually, what am I holding, and what emotions, I'm getting angry all the time with my child, or I'm getting angry when someone cuts me off on the road. Like, what's that about? Because I can guarantee you it's not about the person on the road, and it's not about your child.
More really great stuff, Nina. I don't know if I've ever connected that belief system, it's BS, and but that's for most of us, it's very, very correct. And I
Mm,
love, I mean, I think that everything you're talking about is certainly spot on. And
mm.
as a parent myself, I try to be present and mindful. And I wish that I were an enlightened being and I was fully available for my kids and I was the perfect parent. But I realized that we're all works in progress. And
Mm,
so,
mm.
and so, um, going in with the intention of I'm going to continue to try and make myself better, and in so doing, I'm going to be a great parent.
Mm. Yeah, well, perfect screws you up. So perfect's a pattern, perfect's a idealization, of where we need to be. When you can just see my child is my greatest teacher, and you go into the dynamic as, what is my child teaching me? Not what am I trying to teach my child? When you flip that whole dynamic and that whole paradigm, where my child is not lesser than and I'm not greater than as a parent, I don't have to instill everything into my child. When you turn that around, the magic happens, and it's a very different dynamic, because you're always bringing it back to yourself and like, what's that about me? What's come up inside of me? Not you need to, you, or you doing this, or you. That's giving your power away. When you take it back and you call it home and you go, what is it about me? That's empowerment. And we all want our children to be resilient, empowered. But the thing is, when you look at it, we don't want them to yell at us. We don't want them to speak up to us. We don't want them to, be empowered. But we want them to talk up to the bully, or we want them to speak up to, when they're in their 20s, be able to say, no, I don't want the drugs or the alcohol. But we're not giving them the opportunities in our own home to mess up, to speak up, to fall apart, to be emotional. We're not allowing that space for the mess and the chaos to learn and grow and actually move through their own pain, and not rescue them from their life experiences. They've got unique life experiences occurring under our roof, and often, all the time actually, because, or when it happens, we can't be with our own stuff. We rescue them. We want to go perfect. It has to be perfect. They have to be happy, successful children. And that is a fantasy. And that is the illusion of parenting. Because
Yeah.
no, we can't give them happiness. They be happy. It's from them. So we're always trying to give, this whole, we need to make them happy, or we need to do this for them. Let go of all of that. You'll feel free. You'll have freedom. You'll give them freedom to be who they are. And the whole dynamic shifts.
I love it. It's a trap to try and make things perfect. It's a fool's errand. Stupid idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's because, there's an attachment to, well, maybe as a child, I needed to be perfect to be loved, or I needed to be this, I had to be perfect. Maybe, you had perfectionist parents, there was high discipline, you were punished. So fear and control, we have our ego, which lives inside of us, in our head, in our mind, has to feel safe. So if safety is perfect, then that's what it knows. And the ego is always going after what it knows and how can I keep you safe. And that's the thing, we transport it into adulthood, and we're trying to adult, but we're actually still have those childhood legacies and those childhood patterns playing out that are kind of hijacking us. So we can't show up as an adult. We react to our kids. We want to control, we want to shut down, we want to punish, we want to send them to their room. When what I'm trying to say is that's got nothing to do with your child. And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes, because our ego wants to blame someone.
That is definitely true. That is definitely true. And it's it's all a win. Obviously, you're providing a wonderful home and a safe upbringing for a child. So there's not a right or wrong way to do it necessarily. And even if you did make it perfect, well, then they're going to, be adults that never had to deal with the adversity. And if it's really terrible,
Mm.
then they're going to have that set of problems. So I don't know
Yeah,
if I'm expressing myself correctly.
no, you just pass on the same perfectionist. You pass on the same patterns. The generational patterning just gets passed down the pipeline. So then they feel they need to be perfect, or they need to be good enough, or they need to be lovable. And then that means that there's certain things they do and be to assure them that they're going to be loved or they're going to be perfect. And that's why we have such high anxiety in children, and gaming issues. There's that there's this escapism because maybe they're not being able to be with their feelings, that if they yell and they lose it, then that's maybe they won't be loved, or then they suppress it. So what we as a parent suppress gets expressed through our child.
Can't be with their feelings. One of my favorite quotes is from Blaise Pascal. It's like the majority of humanity's problems is stemmed by their inability to sit quietly in a room by themselves. So that's essentially what we're talking about is I want my child, the two and hopefully third in the future, to be able to grapple with their feelings, good and bad, and to interrogate them and to be able to sit and say, okay, why do I think this way? Why am I feeling this way? And not to be, let the tail wag the dog kind of a thing. So how do I do that? How do I,
Well,
aside from what we've been talking about?
well, that's the thing. You do it. You don't do it for your kid. Your kid, you're not telling your kid to do it. You're doing it, and you're the example, and they're seeing it through you. Often we're like, my child doesn't hear me, but I guarantee you, they're watching you. They're watching. They're seeing the discrepancies in us as parents. Like, oh, well, you tell me this, and you're doing that. You tell me get off the phone, and you're on the phone 24/7. So they're seeing everything, and you can't make your child do anything. You can't. Yes, of course, you can fear them into it and control them, but you can't make them. They're going to have their own unique journey, their own experiences, and we become the guide. We become the guide for them. We're kind of their spiritual guide along the way, available, and just allowing them to unfold. We're not trying to create this super child, because if we don't, we're going to feel like we didn't do enough. And that's our own stuff. So often we're projecting our unmet needs of childhood onto our child. So when we call all those parts of ourselves home and take full responsibility for ourselves and how we're showing up, we then can actually show up empty, neutral in the moment, without all the stuff that we can hold on to. And when something does show up, we go, interesting. I wonder why I felt like I needed to control that, or I wonder why I told my child this. And then we look at it and we ponder on it, and we ask ourselves, what was that about? Because when you know that everything going on is nothing about what's going on the outside, it's all from a space within you. It's all happening inside you. And when you see life happening for you and all the opportunities that are going on, the challenges that you may be having with your child, that they're there to grow you up, in some way and support you on your journey, it becomes a different dynamic and a different parenting journey than if you come at it like, I have to create this child, I have to like tell them everything they need to be doing, they need to know what's right and wrong. They already know, they are already divine beings, they are already it. We don't have to create anything. And when you allow, firstly, you take off all this anxiety off the child that we're dumping on the child to be this and that and do this and that. And when you focus on connection before any action, that, you know, firstly, am I connected to myself? And then I want to connect to my child before any homework being done, any correction, any consequence. When you do that, it shifts and the child's drawn to you. They feel this drawing towards you because you've given them this safety net, you've given them boundaries, which are really healthy for children. And, you know, they can then just relax and be, and know that, you know, they're human. We're human. We're not asking them to be anything other than that, and then what they are, what's showing up right now. And that's the hard part of parenting is accepting what is right now. Because often we're parenting from the future or we're parenting from the past.
Mm. Super powerful.
Yeah.
Thinking about our triggers and our frustrations and the things that make me mad as gifts because they're clues to where I need to be pulling the string and investigating. Oh, that's weird. Why did that make me so upset? Like, okay. That's definitely a shift that I think is really beneficial and will be for me.
And the next level is feeling that feeling that's coming up, because otherwise that feeling has power over you. So if you feel that feeling like, yeah, I felt powerless. So what do I want to do? I want to control my child. And then, you know, feel that feeling of powerless, because you're going to trace that back. It'll be something happened in childhood. It's stemming from something, some experience that was never felt. And when you feel that, and it might show up for months because, you know, we've got decades of stuff that we may have hung on to. Feel that feeling, then we're actually releasing that feeling so that next time you go into a similar moment or a moment with your child, you're like, oh, I'm not triggered and I'm not getting angry. I'm not yelling. And I don't feel anything. I'm neutral. And then, you know, you've actually healed that, and it's not, you know, taking control over you, and you're not giving your power away. You've taken your power back because you felt the feeling that is actually life trying to get you to feel the feeling and actually move through what you've been suppressing and avoiding for decades, possibly.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I love the where you're talking about the alchemy, that it's not we wave a magic wand and all of a sudden I'm all better. That we need to give ourselves grace and patience just as we extend that to our children to be able to work through these things, and that I am a work in progress. I think that those are my words, but I think that that's such an important thing, and I think also empowering that I'm going to continue to make mistakes, but the idea is that I'm consistently working to get better.
Yeah, and you know, be honest with your kids. Yeah, you know what? I messed up. I yelled. And you know why I yelled? Because I had this thing in childhood. I did explain to them the stories you speak to your children about your history, and they understand, are powerful, and they listen. And you own it. You're not pointing the finger. You're owning it. And they're like, wow, mom or dad messes up. They clean it up, they repair it, and I understand it. And they get a deeper understanding and connection of you and why you do what you do. And that also helps them to think, okay, well, it's not about me. Dad's getting angry because of that, you know, and that is a really powerful piece when you can start to take responsibility for your stuff. And then your children, you'll see them mirroring that to you, that they'll do something and they'll repair it.
Well, what about when they do something really dumb, you know? Just
Like
kidding.
what? Like
I'm I'm
what?
I'm just kidding. Like a million things.
Tell me, what's
No,
that? What's
I'm absolutely I'm just kidding. My 6 and 3
yeah.
year old boys are absolutely perfect, and
Well, remembering, this is also important that we signed up for the crazy, we signed up for the chaos, we signed up, sometimes I think to myself, geez, parenting is dangerous. The amount of hits you get and the bumps you get, and all of a sudden the hands on you and they hit you, and you know, it can be a dangerous event. But we signed up for it, and even if your child did, I don't know, something really crazy and something you can't even, you can't even believe they did. You still bring it back to what is that making me feel? Because the journey is always about what's going on inside of us. And that's when we can relearn and understand of bringing it back to us and then showing up for our child. It's a different, experience, and it's going to create a different result. We're all about results and getting, but the result only happens when we shift inside of ourselves. There's, because we grow up in a world of, where we're looking outwards. Well, now we're shifting that looking in, and then that totally shifts the mirror, and then the whole timeline, the whole story will change before you,
I
without you
think
doing anything for your child.
I think it's immensely powerful.
Mm.
Well, Nina, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn
Thank you.
more? Where can people learn more about you? How can they engage with you?
Yeah, so I do 30-minute discovery calls to see if, we're the right fit, and if it's something they want to move further down the track, the journey, because, obviously you have to be ready, you have to be committed to do the inner work, which can't always, isn't always easy, because it's really taking full responsibility. But the magic and the results and the power and that you feel and the freedom that you feel is priceless. So I'm on all the general channels I've got a website called ninacruzconsciouscoaching.com, Instagram Nina Cruz Coach, Facebook Nina Cruz Conscious Coaching, and I think I'm on LinkedIn. Not as active there, but it's just Nina Cruz. And so I'm available on all those different social media outlets, as well as my website, where you can find some content. You can book in for the free discovery calls, or just message me.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed as much as I did, show Nina your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Find Nina on social media, which I'll list in the notes of the show, and then go to Nina Cruz Conscious Coaching.com and check out all the great resources and get scheduled for a 30-minute discovery call to find out if it is a good fit for you and what you are trying to accomplish, and go from there. Thanks again, Nina.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having me.
And until next time, remember, do your part by doing your best.